we on two already? Damn.
Hold on, we're not recording yet. Well, we're recording up there, but hold on, ready? Booyah. We're live.
Are we on finally?
It's Drew.
Yo.
What's going on, man? What's happening in your life?
You tell me. You were up all last night.
Beating Indians with a billy club.
That sounds kind of semi-inappropriate.
A little bit, but through the computer with just very nice, warm language, trying to make sure that they understand what I want done, and that takes quite a while. So, yes, up all night, but made some drastic changes and excited to get them uploaded and out to the people.
So how frustrating is that to go through 2 years of a process of having a product and all of a sudden to make drastic changes on a whim?
The crazy thing is that some of these changes that we're making are things that we wanted initially, and now it's come full circle, and now they actually make so much more sense. So our mind was right back then. We just didn't know how to get to what we wanted. And so now the big picture, we're slowly coming full circle, and all the things that we thought are making sense. But most importantly is getting some other eyes that should have been on there a long time ago, a lot sooner. And getting their opinions and getting them to look at this thing right now. So that's hence the changes.
Can I ask you what you ate last night while you were up all night?
Does my breast stink?
What's the entrepreneurial meal of choice in the middle of the night?
To be honest with you, I had leftover Chipotle from my daughter because she got Grubhub
Mm-hmm.
and then
Another good startup.
And then I had some leftovers from my lunch, which there's that. Puerto Rican, looks like an old fast food restaurant that you pull into, and right over there in the corner, I had that.
Probably wouldn't eat there, but okay.
So I warmed that up. Close this door here. Hey.
The joys of a podcast.
Trusttheherd Studio. All right. So that's what I ate yesterday. 2 leftovers and an energy bar. And I debated having a coffee at midnight and decided it was a bad idea. So just struggled through and crashed for 3 hours and then took my daughter to school.
So what made you feel worse this morning? Was it the product you produced after an all-nighter, or was it the actual feel in the food you ate?
I felt great when I woke up today. I felt accomplished.
Okay.
And the food is sitting pretty, but I did think maybe you thought I had bad breath or something, but I brushed my teeth a few times.
So any advice to our listeners about how they can avoid staying up all night?
Spend more money.
Mm-hmm.
Keep everything on this side of the big pond. And spend even more money.
So for those of you who don't know what we mean, so we've outsourced our development overseas.
Yes.
To India. I think we touched upon that in the first podcast.
Yes.
And with that, there's good and bad, right? I mean, the good, the costs tend to be a little bit lower. The bad is communication, right? It's hard, it's tough, it's challenging. There's also there's a cultural barrier too. Sometimes you have, because obviously the things that you ask for that you may want, they may not completely understand because of a cultural barrier.
They think good thing we type, because if I was talking to them, it would be
okay.
A shit show.
So you're recommending that anybody who's got a tech-related project or anything website-related on the works, keep the development here in the U.S. or North America.
If your bank account allows it, it'll keep your sanity.
So, but let's talk about that. So, I mean, obviously, this podcast is geared to help entrepreneurs. So, what do those costs look like? Like when you first started talking about ServiceHerd and decided whether I'm going to onshore or offshore this whole development, what were the costs like? What were you looking at?
I would say that you're looking at an offshore. I'll be honest. We have our offshore development right now is very inexpensive. It's about $15 an hour.
Okay.
Versus over here.
Is that typical?
For offshore, yeah.
Okay.
You can get it $12 an hour, but then you're going to be dealing with even a little more headache. But they're running strong at $15 an hour. And over here, I would think you're closer to more like $50 to $60 an hour.
And what did we develop? We developed the app.
We've
offshore,
got an app.
The website.
React Native. We've got
the design was done
design.
offshore.
Everything's been offshore.
Okay.
We've dabbled with some people in the States here, but for the most part, everything has been consistently overseas, except for very small.
And what was the issue with the states again? Was this the cost, or was it
cost was high? Designer was $36 an hour versus 14.
And probably freelanced.
And what's that?
Were they freelancers? I'm assuming.
Yeah, everybody. We're
Okay.
our goal's all contractual with people, just contracts.
Well, I meant the designers here in the U.S. Were they freelancers?
They were
had
freelancers.
10 other projects they were doing.
They supposedly worked for
and they would
Coca-Cola.
and they would get to you whenever they could get to you, kind of deal.
These big companies they worked for, but at the end of the day, they mock something up, and then I would mock it up myself for 5 hours. So
So we recently met with a consulting firm.
Yes.
Who suggested that we bring our development onshore, and we've had that discussion internally somewhat, touched upon it.
Yep.
What are your thoughts now, just given what we've read through, what we've discussed, what you've gone through last night?
My
Do you
thoughts
feel like
are
it's a possibility to maybe consider down the line, or are we happy with what we have going on?
I would prefer to deal with the headache and put the money into the marketing.
Okay.
Deal with the headache so that my hands are involved with these to a point right now that we can get this thing. There's just some last few things, and also no need to throw a spoke in the wheel right now. If there's something that needs to be done down the road, but right now to bring it back on this side, there's just too many variables. Right now we're too close to having everything smooth to make that change.
You know, what'd be awesome is if whoever's listening to this podcast, your mom, my mom,
yeah, all 4 of you,
maybe my dog,
my mom,
whoever listens to this podcast, if you have any experience doing development or any kind of design offshore or onshore here in the U.S., I want to write about it. Just email us or put it on the video.
Yeah.
A comment in the bottom of the video, and let us know what your experience is like. I mean, we'd be curious to see.
Just message us on Facebook. Service Herd.
Yeah, that's it.
Service Herd on Facebook. Message us with all kinds of feedback, guys. Our goal right now is to create this platform and dibble dabble with it and tell us what you think.
Yeah, I mean, this is gonna be one of the first startups that really we want to see the crowd kind of create.
Yeah.
We're going to ask the crowd for feedback. We're going to ask all of you for feedback. And we want to see what your opinions are. Obviously, the troll from the middle of nowhere might not get the same response as someone who's got to create some creative input, but we'll listen. We want to hear.
So what's kind of cool is my wonderful wife, who's been on my side for this whole journey, hasn't totally really dug into the project yet. And so as of yesterday,
there's a lesson there to be learned too.
There's a very big lesson to be learned. But as of yesterday, she dug in for 7 minutes, and we made 7 hours worth of changes. So I want to thank her for that.
Finally,
changes made a lot of sense.
2 years later,
she agrees, and I agree that I wish she would have looked at it a little bit sooner. But at the end of the day, when is the right time? It was the right time for me to let her look at it, and it was the right time for her to make a couple judgment changes and some whatever.
I want to talk about that for a second. One of the hardest things that I've realized as an entrepreneur in the businesses that I've started is that the people that are closest to you, the ones you feel like will be the first ones to give you opinions, either don't give you anything at all, or at the very, very end when it's almost too late. Have you noticed that?
Yeah, I think the difficult part is because
they don't hurt your feelings, or
or
weren't you scared to hear what they had to say as an entrepreneur?
Dodging confrontation.
But why is it confrontational? If you're actively engaged,
because I don't want to hear that anything's wrong, especially from my better half.
That's us, yeah. So fear of being told that the product sucks, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So how many people out there are going through that as well too?
Does your product suck? Does your wife even know about your product? It's probably the first person you should talk to. Is just when you feel comfortable.
If you have a wife.
If you have a wife or whoever else in your life.
No.
So yes, I learn from other people, because it's very easy for somebody who's been staring at a computer screen to have their horse blinds on and not see anything else but what they think is the right method.
And since this has been filmed, this is not beer. This is sparkling water. So
coconut.
I'm not drinking alcohol in every episode of this podcast, just so people know. Although this startup life might drive you to do something like that.
Yeah. Yeah. So, what do you want to talk about, Drew?
I was talking about the whole thing about when you start in a business and you're trying to get out the people that you surround yourself with. That's what we're getting at when you talk about when you brought the point about finally asking your wife 2 years later, like, hey, have you sat down and looked at this product and what do you think about it? You know?
Right.
Because end of the day, I think when you have that genuine conversation with somebody, whether it's a friend or it's a colleague, and you sit them down one-on-one and look them in the eye and you say, look, have you looked through what I'm doing? What do you think? And they see sincerity in your face. It would be almost too painful for them to lie to you, and it almost have to tell you the truth, right? Because now it's one-on-one, right? The one thing if it's in a group setting, hey, this is Randy, this is great. Drew, this is great. This is the best thing we've ever seen. And they walk out and snicker. But, like for example, my career as a real estate agent, if I sit there and ask my friends, what do they think of us as a company and what we've done for them and for their investments, to my face, they'll probably tell me, in a group setting, oh, best we've ever had. I'll go on Yelp and review all that stuff. But when I sit somebody down one-on-one and said, hey, how did the process go? And I look them in the face and I just stop right there, and then I will say, you know what? You could have done this better. Or this could have been better. Or we really enjoyed this whole part of the experience. Now all of a sudden that conversation changes, right?
Yep.
So I think it's important for people who are entrepreneurs, who have ideas and who have businesses they're starting and things like that, really sit down with people you care about and try to get them one-on-one and say, the feedback's important to you. Like, give me the feedback now, and don't bullshit me.
You've got to be very between my wife Serena and a meeting with a marketing guy yesterday. I've learned that you have to be. It's very difficult to accept some change, especially when your heart and your mind and your passion is set in a certain way.
Mm-hmm.
But just those two people, I think, made drastic changes in what is going to take place just over the next few days. And I know we keep saying that, and as a founder, you say that because every single update is that update that you really know is going to make the difference. Mm-hmm. Every week is another update that you're going to do that's going to make the difference. But when it comes down to some eyes and hands and stuff looking at it, the goal is that people, it's very easy. So hopefully we accomplish that with some more baby steps last night.
So what's the next step for Trusttheherd? People can follow along with us.
So
where are we at right now? What are we doing next?
Currently, we are fine-tuning development, and we are getting our marketing ammunition set up and ready to go. So when I say fine-tuning development, we have taken our customer dashboard, which we found out was very confusing and hard to understand yesterday, and we've created it as just a dashboard. And so when you come to Trusttheherd as a customer, you are going to be opened up to just a nice, pleasant, clean search page that there's no questions of what you're supposed to do. It's very clean and crisp. And if you want to go to your dashboard, that will allow you to get in and see your appointments and invite people and look at your herd perks and do all those fun things through that dashboard. And so you won't be confused when you first open it up staring at some dashboard.
Now the ultimate test is going to be when we're finally on market and we're getting our listeners and consumers out there telling us about that, right? So going back as an entrepreneur, if you were starting or creating an app and you need to get to that phase of testing your product out, what's the best way for an entrepreneur to do that?
I personally would go out and I would get a mock-up of what I was looking to do, because there are so many dummy sites that you can get that are so close to what you want to do, more than likely, or just the framework that will allow you to put your idea on somebody else's framework for now and just see if the idea works.
Yeah.
See if it even gets a little bit of interest. We didn't do that. We jumped right into custom coding this whole darn thing and making way too many websites.
So you dove into the pool without testing the waters.
I did not test the waters. I dove and it was like frozen.
Clothes on, everything. You just went right in.
Boom.
Yep.
So long story short, I would probably go. My whole fear was like, oh, we're gonna use this like third party platform, and then they're going to own us, and when we blow up and we have 100,000 people in one day join our platform, they're going to be in control of everything. We need to develop it, and we need to stay control. You can stay control of everything you do, but test the waters by using something else that's out there. So there's too many clones. There are clone websites for almost everything. Find one that's close. Yeah. Throw some of your components in there. See if anybody gives a shit.
Sure. So
I thought people wanted a modern day Yellow Pages, which I think they still do, but in order for us to advertise that, it's so broad. So even as of last night, we've decided that we are honing in, shrinking it down, home, auto, pets. Those three things to start with. We're going to be the best we possibly can be at those three things. You got a septic tank blown up, you got a tree in your driveway, We are going to be the person you go to that is immediate. It happens at 11 o'clock at night. You don't know what to do. You can't call. Yeah, you can. You can ping on Trusttheherd. They'll get back to you immediately. Or first thing in the morning, but not you waiting to give them a call.
So 15 minutes into podcast number 2, you people finally know what Trusttheherd actually does.
That's what the marketing guy's been helping me with. Trusttheherd instantly and directly connects you to the service providers that you need to knock out almost most of your daily tasks within a click of a button. Multiple tasks. In other words, hey, handyman, plumber, electrician, boom, all with 3 clicks.
How many versions of the app have we come out with since we first started this thing? Oh, let me ask you this: since you first started, you were here for way before
I've had 2 versions that weren't on. No, nothing has been to market. The first one that actually was able to come to market was the one that's on React Native, but we have built on a different framework when we first started. But again, I've had the trailer way in front of the horses for most of the trips. So
most people do that.
We developed a landing page, which ended up being a full website. Don't do that, guys. If you're making a landing page, make a landing page.
Taking notes.
If you're making a landing page, don't. They were designing this web page, this website for me, as I had this little landing page. Well, I kept wanting to make the landing page more appealing and more appealing and more appealing. And next thing I knew, I had 2 Indians working, one of them on the main site and one of them on the landing page. The landing page ended up being more robust than now I had 2 sites than the regular site. So,
and I remember hearing that complaint when I first started sharing the code.
Spreading the herd.
Spreading the herd, yeah. Okay.
So I highly recommend, first and foremost, if you can get the idea across to somebody and they understand what you're doing and they think that it's appealing or solving a problem to somebody, the next step is to spend a little bit of money and get somebody who knows what they're doing technologically. If you don't, it would have saved 8 months.
Yeah. There you go.
Half the project, probably.
So if anything, that tidbit right there might save some of our listeners 8 months of their lives.
It would probably save them $100,000 and 8 months.
And this is why you should tune in every single episode to listen.
We may have bored you a little bit.
Probably a lot, but
what else? Anything else? How about this? My 13-year-old daughter did a Jello Shot over the weekend.
Oh, Jesus. Is that going to get us in hot water?
She didn't tell Dad.
Oh, okay.
She told Mom, though.
But she wanted to try it.
It was experimental.
But she told Mom.
She actually told Mom, and it made us feel very... Now, were we shocked? Yes. Did I want to, go to the person's house and make a stink? Yes. But at the end of the day, the most important thing was she actually came to us and came to my wife and said, hey, you know what? I did this.
Responsible.
And, on our end, we have to bite our tongue a little bit and be accepted of the fact that she, hey, maybe she'll come to us in the future too when other things happen.
Yeah, that's...
Because they're going to happen. 13 and 12-year-old daughters running around with little boys like yours being
my little boy's a little too far away.
He's a little far away, but still, they'll be babysitters here soon. That's actually perfect.
Yeah, there you go. Well, we're gonna need one. So, you know what my little boy did all week? He's been
colicky?
No,
constipated.
No. He's been that, but he's also been pretty much drowning himself in the pool so he can learn to swim. So,
nice.
It's
Safe Start?
Yeah. Well, no, it's ISR or whatever it's called.
Yep.
Safe Start, whatever it's called. But I mean,
hey, lesson number 3 or 4 today. Get your kids swimming immediately. I don't care Florida. If you are in New York, but
especially in Florida.
Especially in Florida. Man.
Yeah, I mean, it's amazing how these little 6-month-old babies who don't have teeth even, can't even utter semblance of a word, can somehow just naturally find a way to pull themselves up and to safety once they're challenged.
It's crazy.
Business lesson there too, right? Remember the whole phrase of how bad do you want to succeed? When you want to succeed,
I roll over my back and float.
If you want to succeed as much as you want to breathe,
right?
That's it, right there, right?
Yep.
And I think watching my 6-month, I watched a video because I was with you, but I think watching a baby just try to go out there and turn himself over on his own with little to no training, and then pull himself, almost like swim himself, float himself, crying of course, towards the side, because he's now aware that that's safety.
It's deep. It's emotional.
Man. It's really crazy.
It's emotional. I was actually surprise. I was on the Central Florida pool safety board for quite a while because I had a pool. I had a pool safety fence business. So I had a crew of guys that would drive around and they would drill holes in your pool deck, put the poles in the ground, and create a fence around there. We had all these relationships with the pool builders. It was great. And then also this housing market, they did this weird thing where it just disappeared.
Sure. Yep.
So long story short, though, I've had some fun with some pool fences back in the day.
Yeah. Good. Well, I have to ask him about housing back in the day. So. So we're at 20 minutes, which I think is more time than people wanted to dedicate towards us. However, we are going to talk about our next episode, which I think we should touch upon money. Is that where we're at right now?
Money, yeah. We're talking about...
We're running out of it?
We're talking about our lack of money. But the problem is, and we're going to figure this out over the next 2 days.
Smell that? That's the
burning money.
It's a cash you burn.
Smells like cash burning. Is when, where, how, and with who. Because we're burning through it right now. Not at the speed of light because we're working India and I stay up all night, but we're burning through it. And Drew's going to tell us how to save a buck tomorrow or next week.
Yeah. We're looking at an email right now from one of our partners who's going to hopefully help us with that process of raising funds so Randy can pay his bills tomorrow.
So I can keep the lights on for this studio. Hey, we're going to get more exciting next time. We look forward to seeing you in the